Hi, I'm Katie Sartoris, and welcome to this special edition of the Lake Report. We're on location at the Paisley Library here in Paisley, Florida, to explore the ancestral roots of Walt Disney. Yes, Walt Disney. This quaint village of less than 1,000 people is located on Lake County Road 42 between Altoona and DeLand. This untouched, beautiful countryside is just 56 miles north of the world-famous attraction that bears his name, Walt Disney World. Joining me today is author, director of Lake County Libraries, and Disney historian George Taylor. George, thanks for joining us. What a treat.
And what a great way to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World.
Definitely. Many people are surprised to hear that Walt Disney has ties here in Lake County.
It is surprising to hear about the ties. Not a lot of people know that Walt's parents, well, Walt Disney and Roy Disney, the two brothers that formed the company, both of their parents sort of met in the area and married in Lake County. And they were given, not the first, but one of the first marriage certificates here in Lake County. And Walt's parents, Elias Disney and the mother Flora, they met here when they both moved to the area, their families moved to the area. And Walt's father, Elias, served as the postmaster for the Kismet area and served about 300 families here in Lake County before moving on to other jobs in other areas in the country.
So how did Elias and Flora meet?
Well, Elias Disney and Flora Call, they met here in Kismet. I actually run across some research that says they met in Kansas and both families moved here together, but I'm still trying to track that down. But they lived in this area, they would have been neighbors. Flora's family, the Calls, they bought about 80 acres in the Paisley area and started their own farm. And Elias and his father, Keppel Disney, had moved all over the country in parts of California and other areas, and they made their way to the southern Florida area as well. So they would have met just from interactions and being neighbors.
So they met in Kismet. That doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't. It was more than one of 50 ghost towns that existed in the area. So Elias and Flora would have been married in Kismet, and they lived near Akron. Both of those towns are gone. And after a while, after Elias and Flora were married and they'd been settled, the father, Keppel, moved back to Chicago. And then before their first son was born, they honeymooned in Daytona Beach, and they loved the area, Elias and Flora, and they moved out of Lake County to Daytona, where they bought an orange grove and opened a hotel. And those didn't last very long, and they folded within a year or two, and they ended up moving to Chicago, back to their Midwestern roots. And at that point in time, Elias had a long string of jobs that he did, from working as a carpenter at the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago, which is part of the stories of him working on the World's Fair would have influenced Walt and his designs for Epcot in the future. After that, Elias had also worked in a jelly factory. They moved to Marceline, and he owned a paper route after a farm. He did tons of different jobs before settling as a carpenter and living out the rest of his life in Chicago and Portland, Oregon.
Going back to the Disney ties here in Lake County, I actually had the opportunity to sit down with Lake County Clerk of Courts Gary Cooney and see Walt Disney's parents' marriage certificate.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm such a big Disney nerd, and I still have not seen that. So I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, well, here you go. Here's a clip.
And in order to get a marriage license back then, and obviously, even though I'm old, I'm not that old, I wasn't around back then, but in 1887, Elias Disney, who became Walt Disney's father, obviously, had to submit an affidavit, I believe, proving that Miss Call could be married. And his affidavit swears that her parents were okay with the marriage. So I have Flora Call laying over here to my left, and I have Elias sitting to my right. And so he swore that the parents, who are up here at the top, so that's Henrietta Call and Charles Call and Mary Jane Disney and Keppel Disney, were okay with their marriage. And he did that in front of the first county judge of Lake County, Judge Yancey. And that first county judge was not sitting in Tavares at the time. This is December 27th of 1887. That first county judge is actually sitting in a town which is no longer in existence in Lake County, called Bloomfield. Bloomfield was close to where Yalaha is now, so between Howey Mills and the Yalaha Bakery. In fact, the courthouse that he would have gone to to hand in this affidavit would have been just off of 48. It was on Bloomfield Road. And he handed that into Judge Yancey, who was the first county judge in Lake County. Lake County had only been formed in the summer of 1887, so this is some few months later that he decides to get married, or they decide to get married. And so he hands this affidavit in. And oddly enough, it wasn't signed by the parents. It was signed by the guy who wants to get married to Flora Call. So he hands this in, and just on notebook paper, it's in his hand. And then Judge Yancey issues this next document, which is a marriage license for the state of Florida. And he fills that out. And as you can tell by the marriage license, Elias Disney and Flora Call both lived in Akron, Florida at the time. And Akron was in Lake County, about 10 miles west of the St. Johns River, basically where Paisley is today. In order for Mr. Disney, Elias Disney, to get to Bloomfield, he would have traveled about 40 miles. I can't tell you if Miss Call was along that day. There doesn't appear to be any different handwriting on here necessarily. She certainly didn't sign the affidavit. If he was traveling it in a carriage, my understanding is the average speed of a carriage is about 5 miles an hour. So it would have taken him 8 hours to make this trip to get this license, so it was very important to him. If he was on horseback, I'm assuming quicker than that, so he could get the license. But they received the license and then were subsequently married January 1st of 1888.
That was so awesome to be able to see that. Such an old document. What a treat.
I know it's only like 2 blocks from my office. I have to walk over there.
You really do.
I got to make the time for that
Yeah,
as well.
definitely, definitely. So we know that Walt Disney was not born here in Florida, but I understand that his brother was, correct?
Yes, one of his brothers was born in Florida, and they moved to Chicago, where Walt Disney was born in 1901, and spent a lot of his time there. But I do know that they summered here in the Paisley area to visit family, of course, because their grandparents were here and they still had family in the Paisley area. And from some of the rumors I've heard, I'm still trying to track those down, is that Walt and his older brother Roy would summer with Aunt Jessie here in the Paisley area, and that some of the tromping around they did in the Paisley area was sort of the inspiration for Tom Sawyer Island at the Magic Kingdom as well.
Wow.
Still trying to track that down. A lot of people have been talking about that.
Yeah.
So it's a nice connection that he would still visit as a child, and he would come back as an adult to stay with Aunt Jessie as well.
So I wanted to talk about Walt Disney's aunt and uncle. I understand that they played an integral part here as in the Postal Service and as well as in Lake County schools.
Yeah, Walt's uncle served as postmaster, and when he died, Aunt Jessie, his wife, took over as the postmaster. But before she did that, she was a teacher in Lake County and eventually was the principal of the East Side High School, and did that for many, many years, and a noted educational person in the area. And the post office, where she worked for many, many years, served as postmaster, is across the street from the Paisley Library, but it was torn down and they built a Dollar General on that spot, so you can still sort of visit the area.
Gotcha. So I understand Walt Disney spent a lot of time with his aunt down here, and Paisley was kind of a special place for him, correct?
It was. He visited Paisley many times with his brother Roy, and they visited the area. They loved it. And at several points in time, Walt actually considered the Paisley area to do the Florida Project, as he was calling it, or Disney World. Unfortunately, the lack of major transportation highways pulled him more towards the Orlando area once he saw I-4 and those intersections. But they did. Not one of the last photos, but one of his last visits was to the Paisley area, and there's a great photograph of him sitting with Aunt Jessie and Cousin Irene on their front porch, just having a great time. And Aunt Jessie passed away in 1956, and Disneyland opened in 1955. And I'm still trying to track this down, but I've heard that he flew her out for a special visit to Disneyland before she had passed away. I thought that would have been a nice moment for him to show his Magic Kingdom to her at Disneyland in California.
So right down the road from here, from the Paisley Library, is the Ponciana Cemetery, the final resting place of some of Walt Disney's ancestors, correct?
It is. So the grandparents are buried and interred at that cemetery, and it's a really nice spot at the Ponciana Cemetery, and Aunt Jessie is interred there with her husband as well. But if you visit, there's a nice memorial marker that is from the Woodsman insurance company that they did many years ago. Whenever you are a Woodsman member, which was like an insurance back in the day, when you passed away, they would give you a granite marker based on a tree. So as you're walking into the cemetery, you'll spy a bench in the familiar black and red colors of Mickey Mouse that we know so well, but it'll be one of the most unique grave sites because there's a large, almost 6 or 7 foot tall marble or granite tree from the Woodsman Society of America, and it does list some information about them. There's a nice little plaque that talks about Aunt Jessie and the Disneys visiting. It's a nice place to go, especially for the Disney nerds that want to visit Lake County and see a little bit of Disney history that they might not have known about.
All right, George, let's head over to the Poinciana Cemetery.
So when you walk into the cemetery, what you'll see first off is the red and black bench sitting here where people can sit and reflect. And maybe think about Walt Disney's connection to Lake County. Obviously the Mickey Mouse colors and the polka dot, which is a nice little respite area. But here you go. This is the grave site of Charles and Henrietta Call, Walt and Roy's grandparents.
Wow.
Which is kind of fascinating to see this. And it's just nice to see, even here you can see there's some Mickey statuettes. People have still brought flowers. And actually, okay, so if we're looking, father and mother.
Yep.
So Charles on this side and Henrietta on the other side. And as we talked about in the interview, I mean, well, you've got this beautiful granite headstone, for lack of a better term, but a statue.
Beautiful.
And it's the Mason symbol on the top
Yeah.
as well, which is neat. They had to stop doing this in the early 1900s because cost was so much.
I imagine it's marble, right?
I would assume so, yeah. But when you get close, people have left behind little trinkets and little memorials of 2 Mickey statues, and that's interesting. So I'm going to make my way around.
Yeah.
There's a little, looks like a postcard from Disney's Riviera Resort, which I want to see.
Yeah.
And so the Riviera Resort's one of their newest vacation club. I'm just looking to see if there were any notes on it. Doesn't look like there were. But the Riviera is one of their new vacation clubs, and this is a tribute to Walt's love of travel. He visited the Riviera and different European locations with his family. Loved to travel, so the new vacation club hotel is sort of a tribute to his love of travel.
Wow.
Things like that. So it's nice. Obviously a fan came out, a Disney fan came out, had visited, probably stayed at the Riviera and left this behind when they came out to pay their respects. If you make your way back to where the lovely silk flowers are, there's a nice little plaque that somebody put at the front that I'm assuming the Paisley Cemetery Society gives a little history about the Call and the Disney family moving to Florida from Kansas. They settled on land here, very close by, and it talks about Walt and Roy, and then as a child, you know, Disney was a frequent visitor to Paisley.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little memorial to connect Disney. People might walk up and go, why are there Mickey Mouse statues? And the little plaque explains it.
Am I seeing a hidden Mickey in the silks?
I think so. So for the, you know, people who don't know, you know, a hidden Mickey is something that usually is planted in the theme parks or the resorts as a tribute to Mickey Mouse. It's usually a larger circle with 2 smaller circles that represent the mouse and the 2 ears. And I think you're right. I think there's a hidden Mickey with the yellow flower and the 2 red ones. That's very cute.
Yes.
So somebody obviously was very thoughtful about the placement of these as well. That's adorable.
Yeah.
So there's a nice little piece of history connecting Disney to Lake County right here, just outside of Paisley off of County Road 42. So if you're a Disney fan and you want to connect to the Disneys, it's a nice spot to come out and visit. The Poinciana Cemetery, we mentioned, right off County Road 42.
That's some amazing Lake County Disney history. Now I understand Paisley Library has some too, with some unique books on the Magic Kingdom.
They do. They have 2 rare books. One of them is the Disney Song Encyclopedia, which has a lot of theme park related music, a lot written by the Sherman Brothers. Most people would know them from It's a Small World or the Mary Poppins songs. So they've done, so you can come by and check out that book and, you know, play your own Disney songs at home. The other one is Designing Disney Theme Parks, The Architecture of Reassurance by Carol Ann Marling. And what's unique about this book, it's one of the first serious academic studies done about how Disney theme parks are designed, why you feel so good when you enter a theme park. And it was based on a art display that they had done in Canada, and they took it all over the country and they got a lot of famous art and architectural critics to comment on the Disney theme parks. It's fascinating. So you can come by and check it out. Just need a library card to get one, and it's so simple. Just come up to the desk and ask. They can help you out.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, George, I gotta know, how did you get into getting into all this Walt Disney history?
Well, it depends how much time do we have. That's what I need to know. So my earliest memory, of course, growing up in the 70s, loved Winnie the Pooh. That was huge. But I had a friend of mine, families that we lived in Cincinnati, they visited Disney World and came back with a Viewmaster. Do you know what a Viewmaster is?
Yes, I do.
So they had the Viewmaster reel of the Magic Kingdom. I remember looking at it, and I remember becoming obsessed with the images of the Haunted Mansion at the Magic Kingdom. And it just became a lifelong passion to go. Finally, on my 1-year anniversary, when my wife and I were married, we got to take a trip. It was my first trip to Disney World. I was completely blown away and picked up my very first Disney book. It's the 1994 Pictorial Guide to Walt Disney World. And they would publish these every year or so. So when you would buy this at the gift shop, take it home and show all your friends the amazing time you had. But that was my first Disney book. And I've since grown my Disney book, theme park book collection to over 11 or 1,200 titles.
Oh my gosh.
Depending on how I count duplicates. But yeah, I've got a lot of books in my personal collection about all different kinds of theme parks and stuff like that. But visited at least more than once or twice a year before I moved to Central Florida to become the library director. And it's just a big passion. You know, I've been blogging and writing and vlogging and everything I can, talking about the history of the Disney parks. I truly love it.
Oh, that's fascinating. All right, so I understand that you have a website, imaginenerding.com, and
Yes.
You've been working on that for a while, but you just co-authored your first book, and I understand it's a wealth of knowledge on everything Disney.
I like to think so, yes. So I've been writing professionally about Disney since about 2007, and of course researching it for years and years and years. And a good friend of mine, Kevin Yee, is the co-author. We were talking a while back. Kevin is a Southern California native, worked at Disneyland, has firsthand experience, and him and his family have traveled all over the world visiting amusement parks, even the crazy little ones in European countries you've never heard of. And he's written lots of Disney books and written for some websites. So we started talking about what we wanted to do. And we realized the 50th anniversary was coming up. We started off with the idea of writing the Walt Disney World Encyclopedia, till we realized, whoa, that's going to be gigantic. So we settled on the Magic Kingdom, because we're both so passionate about Disney parks and things like that. It's the first official it's the independent encyclopedia of the Magic Kingdom. It is volume 1. There's more coming for the different parks. But it has over 400 entries about the Magic Kingdom, 128 different pages. There are photographs. And it was a lot of fun putting it together. A lot of work, a lot of research. Took us a long time to put this together. But we're very excited about it.
Wonderful. There's a lot of information on Disney on the internet these days. Tell me what sets your book apart.
That's something that Kevin and I talked about. Why would people want to buy an encyclopedia about the Magic Kingdom when you can look up everything? But that's not the truth. We spent years collecting resources, official documents from the company. When you visited the Magic Kingdom in the 70s and the 80s, you could pick up at the front gate. We can still sort of pick them up now, but they were called a times guide or an information guide. And it was your guide to the day or the week at the Magic Kingdom. And it would tell you all the attractions, the shops, the restaurants that were at the Magic Kingdom. So it was an official resource, and they couldn't lie. They're not going to tell you Space Mountain's there when it's not.
Right.
And so we knew we could trust these resources. So we were able to delve into more than 40 years worth of these information guides that we had access to look almost month by month at the changes for the Magic Kingdom. And we found shops that no one else has mentioned on the internet before, a little place called Nemo's Niche that people have to look up in the encyclopedia to see what it was, as well as figuring out how everything moved around on Main Street. Because when you walk down Main Street today, it's not like it was 25, 30 years ago. Shops changed names, they moved across the street, then moved back for no apparent reason. And then tracking some of those down, it was a passion project for us. But we found some resources on the internet that claimed one thing, and we were able to disprove them. We won't get into that right now. But we just used official resources, maps, guidebooks, things that we knew we could trust to tell the story of the Magic Kingdom.
Just curious, why is Roy Disney on the cover?
That is a great question. So Walt Disney passed away in 1966, and the Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World didn't open until 1977. Roy was Walt's older brother, and was often there, was his business partner, helped him start the Walt Disney Studios, 70 some odd years ago. So when Walt Disney passed away, Roy postponed his retirement, came back to took control of the company to be the COO, and basically made this his project. He was not going to rest until Walt Disney World was opened. Roy was the one who actually changed the name of the project from just Disney World, since it was bigger than Disneyland, to Walt Disney World, because he wanted everybody to know that this was his brother's project, and it was his brother. So Roy came out of retirement, finished up the Magic Kingdom in the first phase of Walt Disney World with the hotels, and sadly passed away just 3 months after Walt Disney World opened. So he was able to see his brother's legacy through to the end, and he stood on dedication day on October 25th, 1971, and had Mickey Mouse standing next to him, because he said, since Walt can't be here, Mickey was the spirit of Walt Disney. I want him standing next to me to do the dedication. So we wanted to honor Roy. We would have no Magic Kingdom or Walt Disney World as we know it without Roy Disney.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So do we have more books in the work for Epcot or Animal Kingdom, or?
Yes, we do. We talked about when we named this one Volume 1, we knew, Kevin and I, we knew that we were in trouble and we would have to do more volumes. So Volume 2 will be Epcot. We are working on that one right now. We will finish up with a Disney Animal Kingdom, a Disney Hollywood Studio, and the last and final volume is going to be everything else in the world, which includes Fort Wilderness, the more than 30 hotels, the restaurants they've had outside the parks, as well as what we now know as Disney Springs, which was also known as Pleasure Island, the Disney Village Marketplace, Downtown Disney. So we've got our work cut out for us, which is why I'm glad that one's going to be the last one.
Yeah.
It's going to take us a lot, but yes,
be
so we're hopefully going to roll.
else.
We hope to roll these out year after year until we're finished, and do updates.
Yeah.
When they make changes. When we publish the Magic Kingdom one, the Frontierland Shooting Gallery or Shooting Arcade was one of the opening day attractions at the Magic Kingdom. It closed for refurbishment, and it always cost, I think it was 50 cents currently to use to shoot the air guns. Well, they opened it, and now it's free. So we already just published it, and we have to do an update because of a change.
Yeah.
Things are always changing there.
Definitely. All right, so how can our viewers get a copy of your book?
Okay, well, they can visit my website, imaginerding.com, which I've been running for a while, but all 16 libraries in the Lake County Library System have a copy of the book. I did donate a copy to each location, so they'd have one. So they can just stop by any one of the 16 Lake County libraries, get a library card if they don't have one, and ask for that amazing Magic Kingdom encyclopedia, and the staff will know what to do, and then get a copy.
All right. So Disney, I understand, just released a 50th anniversary book right here. And I understand there's some information about the Disney Paisley connection in there as well.
Yes, there is. So I think it's on page 20. We'd have to look to make sure. But the former Disney archivist, Dave Smith, actually visited Lake County in 1971 as they were building Walt Disney World, and he tracked down the gravesite. And there's a photo of him in the late 80s there as well, but it talks about the marriage certificate and how Walt and Roy had visited Aunt Jessie. All the stories we told today are featured in this beautiful new book celebrating the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World and the Magic Kingdom.
George, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all this information about Disney. What a wonderful way to celebrate the 50th anniversary.
Well, thank you very much. I was glad to be here and celebrate the magic with you.
Absolutely. We had a great time. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this special edition of the Lake Report. If you would like to see this episode again, log on to our Lakefront TV YouTube channel. And for more information about Disney history, books, and theme parks, log on to George Taylor's website, imaginerding.com. Or to check out his book, literally, visit your local Lake County library. George's book will be available for library patrons. Until next time, get outdoors and explore this magical place we all call home. We'll see you next time.